Hello Hearties, it's Catherine here, and this week I'm talking to you from Toronto in Canada. I'm here for about a week attending an implementation day and a live event with my own business mentor, and I want to talk to you about something that seems to be a little bit of a theme this week, to remind you and let you know that it is totally okay for you to be more of a tortoise than a hare in your business, and to remind you that there is no such thing as something that you have to keep up with. And the reason for this is that I've been reminded of something that happened to me quite a number of years ago. So before this business existed in its current form, I was very interested in online marketing and was doing an online marketing course, although previous to this particular business. And the teacher of the course, really wanted to encourage us to see it as a long-term thing, not something that was like a get-rich-quick scheme, but that if we wanted to build a genuinely successful business online, that it was going to take time and that we would actually get there more quickly by going at a slow, methodical pace, but taking action every single day. And he encouraged us to think of ourselves as tortoises, going at this slow, methodical pace, but knowing that we would actually get there in the end. And I was so impatient back in those days. I was very hard on myself. I was very impatient to be further ahead than I was. And so to remind myself, I bought a little soft toy of a tortoise that sat on my desk, and I made all my passwords at the time had the word tortoise somewhere. There was some variation of the word tortoise within the passwords, just to remind me that it was okay to take my time. And one of the things that's prompted me to talk about this and to remember this today is actually that, as you know, I opened enrollment for the Business from the Heart community membership, and it closed it last week. So we'd had people joining for about a week, and then it closed on Thursday. And what was really interesting to me was that by the end of last week, we'd had a few, not loads, but we'd had a handful of emails in from people, bearing in mind they had only been in for about a week at this point, saying, I'm worried about being in this membership because I can't keep up. I feel I'm not keeping up. I feel I'm falling behind. Those are the types of language they were using. Now, this is fascinating. It's particularly fascinating because it's a membership. It's not a course. There is no schedule that they have to keep up with. It's absolutely built and designed to be a go at your own pace type of a model, to meet people wherever they are at and give them the next step. And the reason it's fascinating is it brings up something that comes up for so many of us, which is that we're so often naturally inclined to compare ourselves unfavourably to other people or to some vision we have of where we think we should be, and to find ourselves lacking, when actually, in fact, there is nothing that we need to keep up with. We just need to keep moving forward. So what I'd love to do is I would love to encourage you to embrace your inner tortoise, particularly if you have life circumstances which means you can't go hell for leather or guns blazing, and so many of us can't. You might be a mum of young children, you might have health challenges, which is my situation when I was starting my business. You might have any of the things that life throws at you. The car breaks down, maybe your pet gets sick. Life is like this. There is no such thing as a smooth run. And it can be so easy to then beat yourself up because you're not where you think you should be by the time you think you should be there. And I would love to encourage you to not, instead of comparing yourself to other people who are possibly many years ahead of you in business and perhaps have completely different life circumstances to you. So instead of comparing yourself to them, and equally, don't compare yourself to some ideal vision that you've built up in your mind about where you think you should be right now, because life and business doesn't really follow a lovely, smooth trajectory for any of us. And instead of comparing yourself to those two things, or even to compare yourself, perhaps you've bought a course and you haven't kept up with the modules week by week and you've decided, oh, I'm not keeping up, so I'm just going to stop this altogether. I can't keep up, so I'm just going to bin it. And I find this happens with my online course. I often, people will feed that back to me. I couldn't keep up, so I stopped. And this is a real tragedy, because what you should be doing and what's going to be more helpful for you is instead compare yourself to where you were a month ago and compare yourself to where you were a year ago. Because the only thing that really matters here is that you keep on moving forward, that you keep making forward progress in your business towards the business that you have envisioned, the business that you're dreaming of. And my mentor at this event was talking about this again, I think yesterday or this morning. So, there's a real theme of this, because he sees the same pattern with his students. And he actually shared a really useful exercise that I want to share with you now, because if you are relating to this, you're going to find this really useful. So he suggested that you get a big sheet of paper and you draw up 3 columns on the sheet of paper. In the furthest right-hand column, you write a list of where you want to be ideally. Where is it you're heading? How do you want your business to look? What sort of business model are you following? How many clients have you got? What sort of revenue are you doing? And so on. In the middle column, you will write down where you are right now today. So against the same criteria, whatever it was you listed, you write the same for today. And then the first column, you go back and you fill in, where were you a year ago? In order to acknowledge and celebrate your own progress, because so often we don't celebrate our progress. We are just too busy beating ourselves up because we're not where we think we should be yet. But where we think we should be is just what we've made up ourselves. So really wanted to, I really want to encourage you to focus on allowing yourself to go at your own pace, and focusing on making sure that you're making progress, because you would be amazed, the smallest steps. If you take just the smallest steps, just the smallest action, but you do it consistently every day, every week, every month, you're going to look back a year from now and think, wow, look at all that progress, just look at how far I've come. And it doesn't have to be big action, it doesn't have to be huge, complex activity that's going to take a huge amount of time and energy. It can just be these very small, consistent steps that build on each other. And, it's not just you that falls behind with things. I want to share an example just to maybe hopefully encourage and inspire you. So over a year ago, about 14 months ago, I bought a course. I was interested in exploring launching a membership site. I didn't know enough about it, so I bought into a course to teach me how to launch and run a membership site. But at the time I bought it, I was moving house. I was going through a website redesign and rebrand, which required a huge amount of work. I had quite a lot of clients going through some group programs. It was pretty busy, and I wasn't able to engage in this course in the way that I would have liked. And so, it had a Facebook group, and it had weekly Q&As, and people were taking action, and they were launching their memberships, and there was, everyone was having this great success, and I wasn't doing very much. But I understood that I didn't have to do everything right now, and I just did what I could. I watched the modules when I could, and I implemented when I could. And it was the end of November, so I don't know, what's that, 7 months later? So before I actually did launch my first membership to the founding members. So imagine if I had, instead of allowing myself to go at my own pace, imagine what would have happened if I'd gone halfway through that course and then I'd said, oh, I can't keep up with this course. Everybody else is miles ahead of me. I'm just going to give up. I wouldn't have the membership site that I have today. So speaking to you today, having just opened enrolment officially for the first time, I've got 233 members. Now again, I'm at a live event for people who either want to build or have membership sites. Now there are people here in this audience with memberships of thousands, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 members. I've got 233. But instead of comparing myself to those people with bigger sites and bigger communities than me and finding myself lacking, I'm choosing to celebrate that I did launch, even if I did it more slowly, that I have now got 233 members, and that I'm making progress for me, and that when I look back a year ago, I didn't have any members at all. I didn't even have a membership community, celebrating the fact that I got started and using that to fuel me and give me momentum going forward, rather than looking at where I'm lacking and where I'm falling behind. Because there is no such thing as falling behind. There is no such thing as keeping up. There's just you and your individual journey and the business you want to create. And my message for you is just focus on moving forward at your own pace, whatever that pace is, because that's the only way you're going to get there. And if that means that you're more of a tortoise than a hare, you might just get there. You might get further and faster than the hare ever does. So that's my message for you today, because it's a bit of a theme this week. Like I said, I'm going to wish you lots of love, because I need to get back. We're on a break. I snuck away on a break. I need to get back down to that conference room. Bye.